Akademiks and Drake have been seemingly collaborative in sharing really old doctored clips of Anthony Fantano using a racial slur and some controversial racial language from almost a decade ago. We talked about that and the accountability aspect around it in this segment. I'm Sean Lonegevity with Bringing Down the Band and the New Old Heads podcast, and this is my Unpacked series where typically I go deeper on New Old Heads segments, sometimes some other videos. This just happens to be a segment from episode 447 of the New Old Heads podcast.
Gets caught again?
No. Yeah, I don't like that framing because, number one, the caught again suggests that this was a multiple time thing. And the fact of the matter is no, it was old, but we'll get into it.
He did not get caught again. So recently there was some videos that surfaced, and obviously he's a music critic, and his channel's, I believe it's called The Needle Drop, if I'm not mistaken. A couple videos surfaced where he was saying N-word and talking about Trayvon Martin, and he ended up having to defend himself via video on Twitter. So the video, he basically broke down how he has been through this before. It was taken out of context. You know, it wasn't used properly.
Yeah, so it was Akademiks. The interesting thing is it was Akademiks who shared all this.
Yes.
Which, you know, he's the guy that was...
And Drake, dude.
And Drake.
Yeah, he's a cornball.
He's the guy that was grooming that 15-year-old boy. Remember that? Anyways, the videos they pulled from were over close to a decade old. Anthony has already addressed it multiple times, but also they were also taken out of context a little bit. So the videos, and I didn't go into deeper here, the videos were doctored a little bit to make it seem like, because it wasn't like Anthony Fantano just dropping random slurs. He was actually quoting something, and then so that's part of his video. He's like, well, I realized that I probably shouldn't do that, so I stopped doing it. And that was, again, I think that was nearly a decade ago when this happened and when he addressed it. And that's kind of what his thing was. The Trayvon Martin thing, they said that he laughed at Trayvon Martin joke. Yeah. It wasn't. It was essentially the guy who he laughed at was trying to say somebody else's name, and he ended up saying Trayvon Martin. Mm-hmm. And he laughed at the fact that
this guy didn't say it.
He didn't say it. And it was also in the original video that was shared where this kind of went popular. It was also clipped out of context a little bit as well. So watch Anthony Fantano's video. It's on Twitter if you want to check it out. He breaks this down way better than, this whole conversation is less about Anthony and it's more so about the space. But,
right. Yeah. And that's what it was. Their names sound black or something. No. I heard that clip. There's something about, I don't know if it was specific to Trayvon Martin.
Right.
But he was trying to say somebody's name or something, and somebody said, well, the name sounds black. I have a hard time saying black names, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. I've actually had an experience with somebody telling a story using words that necessarily they don't have to be used for the context. I get the context. And they defended themselves for wanting to say the word just because they were telling the story.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now,
is this person a white? Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Paul. White. I always want to make sure we know what we're talking about. Make sure we know what we're talking about here.
Yeah. So once I confronted this person about that situation, and I was calm about it. It was like, yeah, can you just tell the story and reframe? Mm-hmm. Pretty much schooling him on how you can tell the story without saying that particular word. He puffed out his chest like, I'm just telling the story. Like, what I'm saying don't matter. Yeah. So that pissed me off.
Sure. Now, certainly valid for Terry to share this particular experience, but I do need to note that was not the case with the Anthony Fantano thing.
Now, in this particular situation with Anthony Fantano, I don't agree with him saying it. Mm-hmm. Context, regardless of what you're telling story-wise, blah, 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 you don't necessarily have to say certain words or phrases for someone to get the context. Yeah, this doesn't surprise me coming from him, honestly. But will I go as far as to say that this was racist or this is a situation that is a 4-alarm or 3-alarm, whatever you want to call it, fire? I don't think it's that either. I think this is ignorance has been educated.
One of the main issues in general, just with the way people consume things, is that they don't get a lot of context before they start forming opinions on stuff. And I'm not saying necessarily even in this instance or whatever, but what Terry said was great. It seems like it was ignorance that was kind of it became educated or corrected over time. That's what I kind of gathered from it. And I watched his video. There is something, and I'm sure you guys have all seen it, but Lone, I know that you and I have talked about this before too, though. I think Anthony's probably our age.
Yeah, he's about our age.
Right. So this was 10 years ago. Let's say he was in his late 20s, early 30s. There's like this group of white people. It's usually males that go through some like weird phase, and sometimes it happens in like high school, and sometimes it's in college, and sometimes it seems over the last like 10, 12, 15 years it comes later for some people, that like dancing around that word is like funny to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was never in that group. I don't remember really,
Same.
you know, I never thought it was funny. And I'm not gonna lie, when I was like maybe in high school or middle school, if I ever like rapped it or said it in a song, I got, you know, somebody said something to me about, I never, you know, at 12 or 13, you don't really get it. But as you learn, you're like, oh my God, like, yeah, I never called my friends that or anything, you know, but so I'm not like exempt from all that, but you know, you learn, you know, but I don't understand that, why that is that way here in this country. Maybe it's the same in other countries where you know, you just you want to dance around these taboo subjects because you think it's funny or you think it's cool. And like, when are we going to just get past that? You know what I mean? And I don't mean like get over people saying the N-word. No, don't ever get past that. That's ridiculous. You know what I mean? But when is there ever going to be a time where these like this group of kids or people or whatever stops like, just don't say it.
It's not hard. It's not hard.
You know,
like, it's not hard.
I'm just kind of like, because I remember I was watching Sarah and I we've been watching old movies, and we watched, you guys remember Can't Hardly Wait?
Yeah.
Is that movie about like that high school party? And there's these group, and that's probably 99, 2000, something like that.
Yeah, Seth Green.
Yeah, 25 years ago, right? And there's a part where there's these two white kids who are clearly trying to play stereotypical black characters, right? Black dudes walk into the party and they try to walk up to him and say, "What's up, my," you know, and they get chased out of the party or whatever. Like, that was 25 years ago. Like, haven't we picked up on some of this, you know, like,
well, no,
by now? And obviously the answer is no, because we're, you know, but I don't know a lot about Anthony Fantano. I know that I've listened to a couple of his reviews. He seems to be a sharp guy.
He's very sharp.
But I would think, you know, what Terry said, I thought, just to sum it up, yeah, it seemed just like he was an ignorant, you know, he was a moron and realized he was a moron and doesn't do it anymore.
Take kind of a different look at this. There's a lot of gotchaism when someone becomes a voice.
Sure.
You know, because like I said, these are things that he's already addressed. And, you know, somebody like Akademiks, maybe he's not super aware of Anthony Fantano, but he sees the numbers.
He's very aware of them, and he's aware of them. This is just Akademiks trying to gotcha somebody when it's weird, man. It's like he has a lot of culture vulturistic characteristics when it comes to hip hop, and even when like listening to him and Vlad talk recently. I was looking for a clip for the show we didn't end up talking about, but it was in response to the 𝗕𝗓𝗪 thing, where 𝗕𝗓𝗪 said, you know, Vlad and Akademiks should, you know, pay some restitution to Chicago. And so anyways, Vlad and Akademiks are sitting here talking about it, and Akademiks ironically is saying stuff along the lines of, I already have, you know, I've already apologized for this. I'm not going to apologize anymore. He says all this stuff, you know, and then there's another part where there's like some creator that is like criticizing him a little bit, and it's a creator that apparently wore blackface before, and it's like, sure, you can call it out, but you can just tell like Vlad felt validated in that particular moment to be like, it wasn't me, I'm the okay white guy. And it's just like, I don't know, maybe we all do that to some degree. I don't really know, but it's like, it doesn't take away from like what Vlad has done. You know, like the conversation isn't about Vlad wearing blackface. The conversation is about how Vlad has contributed to death and destruction because of his content. Like, it's a different type of conversation. Like, one thing doesn't like directly correlate to the other in that particular type of way. And I think it's also, and I mentioned it briefly in here, like, it's also just so ironic that like Akademiks is, he knows who Anthony Fantano is. He's one of the biggest music review. Like, he's in his space. He's on the same complex list as him. He's doing this because of Anthony's targeting of Akademiks and targeting of Drake. And so, but Akademiks has more legitimately like damning things about him than what Anthony does. You know, like, even though Anthony does, yeah, he said this, he addressed it, he's been accountable, but Akademiks was grooming a 15-year-old on stream, like within the last year. I'm just saying, man, people are goofy.
I don't, you know, because that seems like the kind of jerk that DJ Akademiks is, you know, and so like I'm not sure if that was the motivation. Maybe he's just now hearing about this stuff because, like I said, people like Akademiks live in a bubble and don't realize that someone has already made amends or at least tried to address these things and say that he's wrong. That. So I think that's partially, but also I think Spool speaks to something that is very prevalent. You know, we say especially young males when it's this whole thing where they like to dance around language that they know is inappropriate. And someone's, you know, just like you say, well, when can we get over this? Never, because it's hard to tell white people about something that they can't do that black people can do. And saying the N-word, like I said, Patrice O'Neal, one of my favorite comedians ever, if not my favorite.
Legend.
He said something that was so brilliant. He's like, for all the things that black people have to go through in this country, the things that we know we don't get the benefit of the doubt of, at least we have language. There are things, and really only one thing that we can say that a white person, like a white person who's a political candidate, somebody who has everything, all the advantages given to them, that's something they can't say. Now, I remember one time there was this one person on The View. I think she was married to a football player, Hasselbeck. Like she started crying about something that had to do with the N-word, and I'd be like, you know what? This isn't about you being so upset about language, but here it is. This is about your white privilege and you being upset that there's something black people can do and make $1 million doing. That if you did the exact same thing, you would be fired, and you would never be able to be hired anywhere else. But Kevin Hart can get on television and say the N-word 50 times, and we'll just laugh and be like, oh, that was such a funny joke. Or a rapper can say it at a concert, and it'd be millions of dollars and do the Super Bowl. And but I guarantee you, as a white person, if you would not trade being able to say the N-word for all the other things that come with being white in this country. So you should just shut the up.
Yeah, man. No, it happens the same thing. The phenomenon with the white kids in these like pockets of time that it's not like they'll dance around stuff about Jewish people. They'll dance around stuff about people of Latin or Hispanic background.
Sure.
It's weird, man.
It's not just that. Yeah.
You saw that in when was the Unite the Right rally? 2016 or 2015, something like that.
Yeah, whenever the tiki torches.
Yeah, they were chanting, and if you looked at it, that was the biggest. Like,
they're good.
Brad,
people.
you're naive. Like you know what I mean. We had 80 years of Obama. I was. Like there's things Obama did I didn't like, but at the end of the day, I was like, like I didn't have to worry about my president tweeting things to people that are unnecessary or making dumb fights with people. Like, I loved Obama, but to see young white kids marching with young white kids, these aren't our parents' age. These are people younger than I was, marching with tiki torches, saying Jews will not replace us. Like,
where does that come from?
Yeah, man, that's the part to me.
I think the only thing that I can think of, like back in high school, where like I could consider myself to like be a part of like that section of white people, would be like the F word, the gay slur, the same word that is used for cigarettes in Britain. That was a commonality thing that we used to drop all the time. And it wasn't until later that I realized, all right, this is apparently something that we shouldn't say. And you don't realize that, I grew up in a small Indiana town. You don't realize that until you come across somebody that is kind of offended by it. And it was just common folk. It was common folk. It was just a common thing to say that we said back then, until I learned otherwise. And I was like, okay, I won't do that. I remember I once called I had a Chinese friend, and I used to joke with him. This is when I was in like 10th or 11th grade. I remember I used to joke with him. I was like, him being Japanese, until he got upset. And I was like, okay, my bad. But sometimes like as a kid, like as a white kid with privilege, as a white kid, trying to navigate all this stuff, and also the indoctrination that is instilled upon you from birth, but also that's passed down through the generations, until you are made more culturally aware through experiences with other cultures and other people outside of what your main little bubble, you don't know any better. And, like sometimes it takes being checked, and sometimes it takes being like told like, oh, you shouldn't do that, because your influences didn't tell you that that's the wrong thing to do. You know what I mean? Or you just didn't know any better, and sometimes it's culture and sensitivity, and sometimes it's just malice. And there is a kind of a difference there, because I think Terry brings it up a little bit later. So I guess I'll stop talking on this, but it's like the intent sometimes is also important, and how you respond to it.
That is wild. I don't know. And also, man, like when you say shit on the internet, like too bad, you put it out there. You know what I mean? Like you get to, I was on a podcast for a few years, and I knew there were people who said things about me that I really didn't like in some of those comments that I saw before. I chose to get on the internet and say my opinion.
That part. Yeah.
I mean, just like you had the whole thing, the kid that went on the Breakfast Club,
Neon.
Yeah, and like I said,
that kid's a dipshit too, man. Like,
I wasn't particularly aware of him before that even happened, because like, why would I be aware of that? Just because of
we talked about him.
Yeah,
which is funny.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, you know what? Yes, you're probably going to have to answer for this for the rest of your life, because nothing dies on the internet. Once it's on the internet, even if you say you didn't mean it, it's just the same thing when You know, you can say something crazy, or a newspaper could print something that's not true, and they'll print the retraction on page 35. But if you print something incorrect or slanderous, libelous, whichever one is print, I sometimes forget, then that's what people are going to remember. They're not going to remember your retraction, you know, and you're going to have to continue to answer for this. And this is where we are in this age of new media, and things just don't go away. There's probably going to be somebody, I don't know if I probably said some wild shit. You're nothing too crazy, but
I don't know.
But there's going to be some.
I mean, Dirty Canadians is one that stands out, but you know,
but once again,
but that's always in reference to Drake, and it's kind of an entendre, but still.
You know, I've also talked about how, you know, I'm not married to my opinions. Okay, once new information is introduced and I become more learned and figure out things in the world don't revolve completely around me, then I can change my point of view. Yeah,
but Jay, that what you just mentioned there is the retraction, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody cares about that. They just care about what you say.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, so like that's what, and look, Anthony Fantano is probably he's going to deal with this for the rest of his life, just like Neon's going to deal with whatever it is for the rest of his life, because that's what happens with the internet. There's always going to be somebody to discover when your stupidest point.
Or when you were a piece of shit. I mean, at the end of the day, this isn't a situation to where I actually think that he's racist. Right.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think he's racist.
There's different levels and conversations and realizations with certain people that you can kind of tell and gauge their character. Now, you wanting to be popular and things like that on the internet, and you're reading things as somebody in court would read it. Like we've all seen something that happened in court. They're going through reading exactly what was said. And of course, nothing's ever said about that. He's pretty much doing the same thing, but being playful about it is different. This is the only thing I don't.
Then maybe Terry is referencing something that I haven't seen, because he keeps bringing this up. But like the thing that was recently popularized, it wasn't Fantano like playing with it. It was just like he said something in a particular type of way where he was describing something, but I don't think it was like a hee moment.
Like about being caught red-handed and then apologizing. Before it even comes out, you'd be like, okay, I did some shit in my past that some of y'all may not be aware that I've done, but I'm going to bring it to light because that's where I'm at now.
But the problem with this in the age of the internet is that it doesn't matter because people won't see it. Like, it just doesn't matter anymore. Like, I could make a video like, hey, I used to do this, right? And then it would come up, and then, you know, that would be me addressing it or whatever. But if other people didn't see that video, then this is still going to be a thing. You know what I mean? It's just because at the end of the day, Fantano has addressed this. Granted, it was like after it came out, but it was like the beginning of cancel culture. So it was like when this stuff kind of like was becoming a thing, when people started digging up people's past, when people started being a lot more sensitive online in a way. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but people used to became a little bit more around this time, 15, 16, 17, especially around Trump. So, I mean, there's different ways to look at it.
And I want to address it. And I want to put it pretty much dead it right now, because that's not me. That's not what it represented.
Accountability.
Sure. That type of thing I appreciate if somebody were to do it, but it never happens like that.
No.
Yeah.
It's always when something surfaces, then we have the apology rallies that
happen.
happen.
The only person I remember doing that was Liam Neeson, dude.
Oh, I remember that.
Oh,
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was crazy.
He thought once
Yeah, it was random.
I was like, damn.
Because at first I was like, damn, I wouldn't have said all that.
No,
But that's what everybody asks for. You know, realistically, you know, the thing with Anthony Fantano though is he was legitimately, he was using it in a way that he didn't realize at the time was culturally insensitive.
Right.
He was using it in a particular type of way. He was quoting something. He wasn't out just saying something. He even said that he talked about editing the title, like editing the title from. This was actually a separate point, but I jumped into it because, you know, ADD and stuff. Like a YouTube video that he had. He's like, I didn't even, you know, it was like 3 years ago that I just edited this, you know, had the N-word in it or whatever. And, you know, it's like this fuzzy nature. I remember back blogging too. What do I title something that I'm posting when it's like ends in Paris?
Yeah.
It's coming from me.
Yeah.
But the name of the title is this. Yeah. I definitely specifically remember this because I have ran into that a few times where it's like, well, this isn't really about me, because what we did on the blog is we just try to amplify music, right? But I definitely was the person writing it. Do I keep the integrity of the blog post, or do I just write it out? And there are definitely times where I just wrote it out and then, you know, push publish and don't even think anything of it. And it's like, let me just keep the journalistic. This is like, I think Jay mentions here is like, you know, it's not about me.
But sometimes people lean on journalistic integrity and
no, for sure. And that's
look, I just remember
if I could interject though, in the past time, that's what I leaned on. I was like, well, this is what it is supposed to be.
Yeah. That's what
what I'm going to
titled it.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to do.
That's the reason why I differentiate.
But it doesn't mean at the same time that I'm not thinking like, well, should I be doing that? I feel a little weird posting this, like
it's your conscience. Like you're thinking about it.
There's no like rubric.
Yeah.
There was like no culture. Like we're talking about like 2010, 11, 12. There was. I don't even know what I would do now. Like, I mean, I know like if it's my video and I'm posting it on YouTube, I would censor it. Like I wouldn't type it out. You know what I mean? But like if I'm working for somebody, another artist, right? I'm working for another artist and it's a black artist and they got a song with it in their title. I'm going to type it out in the title, right? And I'm going to post it. Like if I'm doing work for them, but technically that's me doing it. It's like, like I guess I could say I'm not comfortable typing this word out, but it's just a word kind of in this particular context. The only people that know are me and the person that's the thing is. And it's like there was like no rubric back when we were doing this back then. It was just like, well, I guess I'll just keep it originally for what it is and just keep it moving. And if somebody has a problem, but it is definitely something that I thought about, definitely something that I like pondered. I was like, I don't know the best way to do this because then it would be inconsistent. Like if I'm posting it, because J Diff was the other person that would post music and another person who's mixed. And so like, if Terry posts it, he's going to put it in there. But if I do, I'm not going to, then it's inconsistent. Yeah. I guess Jay Moore said journalistic integrity. It just felt like I need to portray exactly what the artist is doing. But anyways,
there's not a laughing matter. It's not a joke.
Well, no.
You know what I'm saying? When you kind of make it a joke and it's funny, I typed that. That's why I brought up the whole situation with court. So in court, they have to read lyrics sometime. Obviously, Drake has a case going on.
Yeah.
The lyrics are being read by people that are not black.
Sure.
Right? And they have to say these things in court. I'm sure people in court aren't chuckling when they read these lyrics.
That part.
So if you're reading it live and you're chuckling and it's funny to you,
yeah,
that makes it offensive. That doesn't seem like you're reading it or saying it.
I would even
in context.
But Sarah, I would go a step further. Like I don't think laughing has anything to do with it. As a white person, you just don't say it.
That too.
I think both.
That's the underlying point that you probably just shouldn't say it. Period.
Yeah, like
but
especially on
when
camera.
you make it a joke, if it ends up being funny to you, like the whole even the other stuff didn't bother me when they talked about Trayvon and that was funny. That doesn't sit right with me because George Zimmerman is still alive for as many black on black crimes or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
and ain't nobody took his ass out.
Buddy walking around.
There's some people that ain't on your job because y'all doing other shit. But that's neither here nor there.
I mean, I
agree with Terry.
I'm just gonna again, I'm the white person saying this, right? But how many times do I have to apologize? And if that is a bazillion times, then that's what the answer is, right? And also to the Trayvon Martin point, I think it's important to, again, he wasn't laughing at Trayvon Martin. He was laughing at the fact that the guy messed the name up. Completely different context. It's like you're not laughing at the fact that Trayvon Martin died from George Zimmerman. You're laughing at the fact that somebody meant to say something else and he said Trayvon, and people are like, "What are you talking about? That's stupid," right?
Also, as a white person, you could say, "I'm not apologizing anymore for this." You can say that if you want to.
The irony of all this shit is that Akademiks was the one who put this out there. Apparently, he's also on a. We just talked about 𝗕𝗔𝗪𝗡 last week.
Yeah.
He's on a conversation with Vlad saying, I've already apologized for this all this time. I'm not going to apologize anymore.
I didn't know he'd apologize.
I'm just saying.
Because I don't care anything about Akademiks like that.
But I'm just saying, like, that's the irony in this kind of situation. Anyways, but I want to circle back around to something that Brad said about where white people come from when they say the things that they say.
Yes.
And where it comes from. And the whole censorship piece, because I think that's important. Like, I think there is something to do with, there is a level of white angst that exists in general in young white men.
Yes, there is. It's wild. I don't get it. I don't.
But I think
it didn't touch me.
I've been thinking about this recently because I was actually going to make a video about this, and I have that was going to go deeper on this, and maybe I'll talk about it deeper in some other thing too as well. But I think part of it comes down to definitely the root of it is being able to not say something. Like, I can't say this word. But I think another part of it is the fact that it's just a word. And what I mean by that is just because I don't say the word doesn't mean that it's not replaying in my head. And so regardless if I say the thing out loud, you can't police what's in my head. So therefore, why does it matter?
Well, I mean, there's always been that. There are people who don't think they're racist because they've never burned a cross or said or called someone the N-word on the street. But the way you live your life, the way you, but depending on what your job title is and how you disseminate information and how you live your life, maybe more racist than anybody who's ever burned a cross or just called someone the N-word or try to stop someone from walking into a school.
Absolutely.
And I think, when we talk about language, that's kind of the nuance that is lost, is because we think that a lot of times bad feelings and racism or homophobia or anti-Semitism is boiled just down to language.
Right.
There's probably people who, have the worst feelings about Jewish people, but they said, oh, well, I've never, worked in a concentration camp or this, that, and that's their justification for not being anti-Semitic. But they know how they feel internally about the Jewish person that works in their office.
Absolutely.
I think it boils down to just being, it's a respect thing at the end of the day.
That was going to be my thesis of the video I was going to make.
It's a respect
It's all
thing.
about respect.
Yes. So
so real quick, so this was literally an idea that I had in my head because remember I was trying to go to sleep one night and I was thinking, well, I'll make a video about this Fantano stuff, but I wanted to approach it from a different angle. It was more so like the root of why does this keep happening and why do white people feel the need to say the N-word? Why is this continually a thing to where white people feel like they need to say the N-word? The overall, my thesis of the whole thing was going to get around the fact to where the word lives in our head regardless, right? And every word does, right? So if somebody says something to me, it's just intrinsically something that is in my mind. And what I mean by that is if I hear a rap song and there's a whole bunch of N-words or a whole bunch of words or just anything that's happening, that is going on through my mind and I'm processing that in my mind itself, right? I'm hearing it, I'm processing what is happening. And then I guess there are people that don't think in that particular type of way, but I hear things, I can think things. And so these thoughts exist regardless of if it comes out of my mouth or not. Me thinking of the word, the N-word in my thoughts as I'm listening to a rap song. Do I say the N-word in my thoughts when I'm rapping along to it in my head? Or do I censor myself in my thoughts as it's happening? This is one of the reasons why I'm kind of anti-censorship in general, although I don't say the word and although I don't say slurs out of respect, right? And that was going to be the thesis of it all. It's I don't agree with censorship because I don't feel like it's any type of positive thing outside of the fact that you are showing respect to a group of people that are offended by something. And that should be enough. That should be enough. If you're a white person watching this, when I talk about race stuff on this show and the stuff that I'm talking about right now, I'm not talking to black people. If you're a black person and you're trying to analyze me like I'm trying to preach to you, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the white people that are out there that pay attention to this stuff, that are listening to the words that I am saying. And so that if that is you, maybe you can resonate with the things that I'm saying. That is one of my grand purposes on this show. It's one of the main reasons I have continued to stay on the show and I haven't stepped away in general, but it's to have these perspectives and to go a little bit deeper and to have those conversations with you, to just look, if you're a white person that says it, sure, you may have a handful of people that may say it's okay, but you're disrespecting a whole bunch of other people that it offends. And why would you do that? Just have the respect, have the self-respect, have the whole respect in general to just respect the fact that it is culturally insensitive for you to say those things, even though I believe that this stuff happens in our head anyways. And I feel like that's where a lot of this angst comes from. It's just well, it's there anyways. Just the fact that you can't hear it doesn't mean that it's any different. Man, it's a problem, man. Just don't say it. Don't say it. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter, you hear it in a rap song, don't say it. It's just respect. You don't say the word, even though you hear it in your head. You don't say it. You don't say it out loud because you respect the fact that it's culturally insensitive. It is insensitive to say things that's going to offend people. It's the same reason why Anthony Fantano was saying something in a particular way that he thought was perfectly fine, but then he realized that it was culturally insensitive to some people, and he had the realization, oh, I'm not going to say that anymore because that is insensitive. He had the respect You say, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to be accountable. And that was him being accountable. Him being accountable is him saying, all right, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to practice this particular type of way, and I'm going to conduct myself in that particular type of way. That's really all that you can ask from somebody. Depending on what our indoctrination level is, depending on what we're taught, depending on what we're learned, our mind takes us in different directions. And it's up to us to overcorrect and fix those things. And it starts with just not saying everything. And then it comes with the behavior behind it to correct that, so that that's not where your mind goes automatically. You don't see like a Hispanic person and then you automatically think racial slurs. Like if that's something that happens, you need to like do some development. You know what I mean? Like that needs to be a thing. But it starts with not saying it. It starts with the respect to understand that, okay, even though this is happening within me, this is something that I need to not do. And then you need to learn to be a better person. And, you know, you have the grace. Everybody has the grace of letting things live in their head while they work through and become better people. It just is what it is. It's never been a me thing for the N word, but it has been for other words. You know, like I said earlier, the F word, the slur, you know, that was popular in the 90s. And that was one that, you know, me and everybody that I was around said on a regular basis, until I learned that it wasn't something. And to be honest with you, it was something that was not easy to stop saying. I thought it was a part of who I was, a part of the way that part of my vocabulary, part of the thing that made me. And so then it's like, no, it's not. This is offensive to people. This makes people feel less than. And I didn't want to be a part of that. I say all this to say is like a lot of this discussion around white people and the cancel culture around all this stuff, it's all learned behavior. That is indoctrinated within us because of the generations that were before us that taught us these things. It was our parents, it was our grandparents, it was our brothers and our sisters. It's the culture that's around us, and it's how learned our parents and our influences are that was passed down to us. It's not necessarily anybody's fault that they are who they are or what they do, but it is important to constantly try to be a better person, even if you think you're a great person. And it's just the constant evolution of life. I know I'm preaching a little bit. I want to get back to the video, but I just had to say that real quick. So yeah.
If you're in a position to where, okay, technically anybody can say it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Anybody can say whatever the want to say.
True.
But you being in a position to where I respect where somebody came from and what they went through and what this meant at one point in time and what it still means to some people that say it, I respect that. So even though if I'm thinking it, there's not even just black words that are
things
pretty much erased.
Pop in our mind.
You know what I'm saying?
We don't have control over it. Yeah.
It's going to come up in your mind, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to vocally expand or say it,
absolutely,
whether in public or in private.
Out of respect.
Right. Because, I mean, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it's just respect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that doesn't necessarily mean that like, oh man, I'm thinking of this slur to call this person something.
Yeah,
it just means that the word will pop in there if somebody mentions it, or if I think it, or if I hear it in a song. And I think what I was saying with that is that I think that goes down to kind of the root of some of this issue with white people sometimes, and the privilege around it that's inherently there.
Because a lot of them lean on, I'm going to say this because I know it's going to push this button.
Yeah.
My thing with me, honestly, is if I encounter somebody that I know is saying it in ill intent,
sometimes
you saying it by itself really doesn't bother me. It's more so you thought it was going to bother me because you wanted to get a rise out of me.
Yeah, or some reaction.
Right.
Of some
That's
sort.
more so what causes me to go down the path of, okay, so do I react in this way? Or do I react in a way that you don't even really expect because you lean on saying things that are going to get people pissed off because these are action words to you that you've been programmed to say, well, anytime I feel like my back's against the wall, I know I can say this and offend somebody.
And to Terry's point, I can relate because I've been in plenty of situations where I know it's I'm poking you situation. Growing up where we grew up, Lone Nose, growing up with the dynamics and things of that nature, playing ball in some of these back road countries.
Mike and I went to the same elementary school. I've known Mike for a very long time. Sure.
Country towns where I used to hoop at when I was 6th, 7th grade. I heard a lot of stuff. Heard it from the refs, coaches, parents.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, our elementary school is in the country.
Come on. So I've been there. Like, we came up in sports through that.
Yeah.
So to Terry's point, it's like, yeah, I know where you're coming from, but it's up to me to decide how I want to either react or, you know, just pull back.
Yeah, and you guys bring up a good point in general about just, I don't know, like general race relations and kind of where we're at right now. I guess speaking to fellow whites or whatever. like
Whites.
It's 100. That's 100 comment.
Black people aren't a monolith.
I say that all the time.
They don't. the way that one person might react to something, a black person is different than, you know what I mean? Like, it's just always like.
I think the problem, Brad,
and one black person doesn't represent.
what I was going to say there is like the problem, Brad, is a lot of these white people don't know what a monolith is, but you know.
Represent all
Talk
black
to
people.
him.
Like, and that's, to me,
him.
that's pretty basic,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, man.
And then that kind of, you know, from there can kind of grow the, you know, just
You having a
next
black
comes
friend
just
doesn't
just-
exclude you from things.
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
I've had black friends of mine ask me or say in so many words, you know, you could probably get away with saying it if you wanted to because you're around us so much. And I was just like, it's not
Yeah.
what
It's
I'm
not
gonna
something I
do.
wanna
It's
do.
not for me. I don't like the word, the way, you know, my understanding. A lot of this too, all, you know, comes
I used
from.
to get teased by black people to say it.
Yeah.
I'm just
He's
saying.
not lying. I was there. Yeah, he's
Like,
not
I'm
lying.
cool.
Also,
I'm
I've
cool.
been called it by black people before too.
I used to get
I
called
always think
clear.
it's so
I never
funny.
understood what
Yeah.
the that meant.
Clear. That's funny.
Yeah.
Hey, but Lone never, to Lone's point,
He's white as hell. That's what,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm super white.
Yeah, but you know, and it's there's such a
real, though.
dynamic because I've seen people just repost like a meme that has the
Yeah.
N-word in it, but the
Yeah.
person was white, and I feel some kind of way about it.
Yeah.
I do remember one time I did a retweet of something that somebody said, and I really liked what they said. I think I did this a couple times. But both times I was like, man, should I retweet this? Because it like had the N-word in it. But like the thing that the person was talking about, like it wasn't like the main point of it. And I like undid the retweet.
Yeah.
You know, and
Well, it's like their little. I swear, dude.
And
It's
they're
like
not-
their little like.
I don't even think there's. I don't
It
think
really
there's.
is. I'm telling you.
I don't
These
think
guys are
there's-
white. I'm telling you, this is how they think.
But
dude.
even
Like, yeah.
but I would know the person.
We're
I
not
like.
a monolith
I know
either.
there's no ill intent there. It's like sometimes they just they're comfortable because they're around us a lot, you
Yeah.
know. But also, I'm one of those people. I think I've talked about this on the show. How like I don't use the N-word around black people I don't know. So I certainly don't use it around white people. I don't use it on the show. I don't
part.
use it when I'm on stage.
That part.
You know, and there was one time I said it on the show because I thought the joke was that funny. But you know, other than that, like I've gone 300 something shows.
Yeah, I don't either.
We don't use it.
I don't
Yeah.
participate.
We don't
You
use
know,
it. Yeah, that's facts.
And so I don't know, man. Language is just so crazy. The intent is crazy. What we're talking about is almost this eternal conversation. I wish we didn't have to have all the time.
I agree.
And I know we were supposed to be talking about Anthony Fantano, but we kind of got into something larger.
Well, I was going to ask.
But that's the point of the
That's the point,
conversation,
yeah.
you know?
I was going to ask.
Because in my opinion, Anthony apologized. And granted,
did.
I'm the white person here, right? So it's not necessarily my place. But like, he can't really do anything else except for apologize and keep it moving.
he can't.
And you know,
When I heard it, when you hear it from certain people, I'd say 85%, 90% of the people that get called out for something like this.
and I should clarify that. He apologized, kept it moving. And the reason why that's all he can do now is because he apologized and kept it moving like a decade ago, but then he enacted on his accountability. He started being accountable back then. And when you look at everything that he's done since then, it proves that he has taken everything that he took it all to heart and he leaned into it further, meaning, he doesn't do the same stuff anymore. You know, he learned from it and he's a better person now because of it. And I think that's pretty easy to see if you just look at his content and you listen to him talk and the things that he addresses and stuff. We all have blind spots. We all learn at different angles. And, you know, like it's not my place to tell somebody to not get upset and to not be offended. So if you still want to be offended, again, I've said this a couple times, like by all means, do you. But like there's only a certain level of positive discourse that can come out of like punishing somebody. And I'm personally, and maybe it's because I'm white, but I feel this way in almost everything. And I feel this way in the same sense when it comes to, you know, education and things of that matter. Like you have to leave space for people to grow. You have to leave space for people to be better. It's the same reason why, like when I look at the prison industrial complex and what we do to felons, why it's very important for us to, you know, give them a chance after they've served their time to come back and be a part of society. You know, they fucked up and they should be able to come back because they served their time because they were accountable to the thing that they did. That's just a general belief that I have in general. And I'm not going to not think that about white people if I think that about things over here. You know what I mean? So I do think that that's an important piece of this conversation.
I'm like, yeah, I fucking knew it, dude. You know what I mean? Like, of course he did.
I wasn't
but with
surprised.
him, I was like, you know,
Oh, it's kind of
yeah, okay. Like I don't.
I would have felt
like I didn't hear it and was like, I knew he was a racist. Like I heard it and was like, I bet he was a dumb.
I didn't think he was.
That's
racist.
exactly what I heard.
I didn't. Like I said, I didn't think he was.
Oh,
racist.
I know you didn't. I'm just saying,
But
like
I'm
when
feeling-
people read that, that's the reaction that Akademiks is trying to get out of people. He's racist. Don't listen to him.
Yeah, he's a
You know what I mean?
cornball.
He sucks, dude. I'm sorry. I don't miss
that.
any of that shit.
It
Dude.
just made me
God.
lean more onto the fact that I feel like he can't hear Jimmy the same way I hear Jimmy.
Well, I was gonna ask.
Yep.
I had a follow-up set, but
You just listen to. I hear Jimmy.
So yeah, I think that's kind of been talked to the end. You guys understand my opinion on all this stuff. I you know, again, I say this all the time. And, you know, and I know I have a mixed bag of people that kind of watch the stuff that I do, and I know there's a mixed bag of stuff to watch what the new old heads do. And I know that there's always like a there's always people that look at me in the space with that third eye opened. You know what I mean? And I get that. But I'll also say that, like, my perspective is very simple. It's just, you know, well, maybe it's not very simple, but it's just my place in all of this is to speak on it from a white person's perspective, give guidance to white people that are capable of receiving the information, speaking about my past, speaking about my path of unindoctrinating myself, and so forth. And that's the perspectives that I speak from pretty much across the board of everything that I do. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think this is a good discussion. We did talk about this actually for about another 20, 25 minutes. We went a lot deeper into this. It's on our Uncut if you're interested. Patreon.com/newoldheads, episode 447. It's actually out now. Yeah, if you want to become a $5 member, you can see that and all of the other stuff. Otherwise, become a free member. But yeah, I guess that's all I have to say on that for now, because I don't really have anything else to say. But yeah, till next time. Peace.